What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some football formations that you need to learn. So we're going to talk about what you can do out of these formations, some names for these formations so you can be better prepared for your season. So fellas, we are going to be talking about first 10 personnel. So if you guys ever hear like 10 personnel, 11 personnel, 12 personnel, the numbers represented, the first number represents the amount of running backs that are going to be in the formation. Second number represents the amount of tight ends in the formation. Now, there are obviously different things that you guys can do throughout 10 personnel, 11 personnel, different formations. That's what we're going to talk about today. But if it were to be like 11 personnel, you'd know one running back, one tight end. 10 personnel, one running back, no tight end. So there would be 4 wide receivers on the field. So that would be generally like your spread offense, right? So you could have a doubles formation, trips formation. That's generally what you can do out of 10 personnel. So let's talk about it a little bit, right? So this like box right here is going to be my center. I got my quarterback. I know I have one running back. So your running back could be out of pistol. You could be under center as a quarterback. You could be offset to the right, offset to the left. We're going to say that he's offset to the right. I have my outside receiver. I have my slot receiver here, outside receiver here. Then I have my left tackle, left guard, right tackle. This is the center right here in the middle, okay? So that's 10 personnel. Now, out of 10 personnel, you could work trips left or trips right? So I could have this slot receiver be over here towards the left, and then that would be trips left. And then I could have, obviously, these two guys come over to the right. That would be trips right. But that is 10 personnel. Now, generally, from an offensive perspective, this is like nowadays in college football, even high school football, you can run a lot of zone read stuff out of 10 personnel, right? So let's go back to that doubles formation. This is something you'll commonly see. And let's say we have just a quick little bubble screen right here. Outside receiver blocks, and we have a zone read concept, right? Where this tackle comes down, we leave the defensive end unblocked, right? Let's say that defensive end crashes, quarterback pulls the ball, outside linebacker crashes hard on the quarterback, he throws it out to the bubble screen, and then we got numbers out here because all this DB on the outside or all this receiver on the outside has to do is block this corner. So there's a lot you can do zone read wise, a lot you can do pass game wise out of 10 personnel, but that is one of the best formations that you need to understand nowadays in football. Now, fellas, before we get to the rest of these formations, if you are a quarterback or wide receiver watching this video and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, we're going to be traveling out to 15 different cities across the entire country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So guys, you want some more information, go to that very first link in the description below of this video. That's where you can sign up. We limit all of our spots for all of our camps simply because we want to work with each athlete individually, be able to coach them up and have the time to do so. When you have a million people at a camp, you can't exactly do that, but that's not what we do. We focus purely on development. So if you guys would like to attend, very first link in that description below. Our next camp is going to be in San Francisco, California. Then we'll be coming out to Orlando, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona, Columbia, South Carolina. Then after that, Seattle, Washington, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Nashville, Tennessee, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Denver, Colorado, Columbus, Ohio, Boston, Massachusetts, Salt Lake City, Utah, and finishing it off in Los Angeles, California. So guys, want some information? Very first link in that description below. We'd love to have you there. So fellas, now we're going to talk about 12 personnel and 21 personnel. So let's talk about breakdown what we discussed in the last 10 personnel clip. Well, the first number represents the amount of running backs. Second number represents the amount of tight ends. So 12 personnel, let's do that one first. 1 running back, 2 tight ends. So that means there's going to be, and again, you always want to look at this personnel number to determine how many receivers are on the field as well, right? So maybe in your offense, you have different packages, right? Let's say you're a receiver and in 10 personnel, you're on the field, but in 12 personnel, you're off the field. So it's just a good way to understand and differentiate between the two. So 1 running back, 2 tight ends. So here's my center, right? Quarterback, let's say the running back is in pistol. I'm going to have a tight end, left tackle, left guard, right tackle, tight end. My outside receiver, Some people might call this an ace formation, if you will, right? So, and this is obviously I guess you could say, there's a lot of things we could do out of this, right? We could definitely run the ball because we have good numbers, right? Because this is if you will, max protection, right? Because I have 5 offensive linemen, a tight end, another tight end. That means I got 7 guys blocking, right? So I could definitely run the ball because we have good numbers, but also I have a little bit more time to pass the ball. So maybe if my outside receiver wanted to run a route, let's say he was doing a comeback and go. So at 15, he breaks down, sells the comeback. Maybe we do a little play action. I have the time for that. One of my favorite things on social media idea is when you'll see like long routes being ran and everybody's like, oh, that's going to take too long. There are some situations where you have a little bit more time than like 3 seconds, and that's a situation like it's 12 personnel where I have max protection back there, okay? So that's something that you can do, and that's something you should know about this 12 personnel. So now let's talk about 21 personnel. So that's one running back, or excuse me, that's 2 running backs, 1 tight end, all right? So let's break this down. So I have center, let's say I have quarterback, let's say I have like RB here, or excuse me, let me write something a little bit different. I'll put like a T, another T here, tight end, Z receiver, outside receiver, slot, or excuse me, no slot on this. So there you go. So this would be 21 personnel, right? Again, 1 tight end, 2 running backs. You work an I formation out of this. Obviously very strong against the run. You could do something like, you know, for example, like some type of power concept where you hand the ball off. You could work some play action out of this, right? Where you do maybe like, you do like a fake boot, or you do like a fake stretch, if you will. You boot back across the formation. This receiver runs like a whip route. This tight end runs like a drag route over the top. So if that outside linebacker runs with the whip route, you throw this. There's a lot you could do out of 21 personnel. So that would be 21 personnel. Not as common in today's football because you don't see a whole lot of 2-back concepts, but there's obviously 12, 21 personnel. So that's the difference between the two. How it's different between 10 personnel. Now we're going to get into some more complex formations that you guys need to know. So fellas, now let's talk about an empty formation. So this is obviously like, you know, you could run some run plays out of this, but generally with the quarterback, or maybe if you're doing some type of jet sweep action, but empty formation means there's an empty backfield. No running backs and no tight ends. You got 3 receivers on the left or the right, and then 2 receivers on the opposite side from that. So it's an obvious passing formation. You see this more commonly now in like kind of the air raid type systems that are very popular in high school and definitely in college. So let's draw this out, right? So I got my center, got my quarterback, I got outside receiver, slot, then let's say like this would be considered the running back, if you will, out of the slots of the T, and then the outside receiver on the right. So empty backfield, nobody back there, no tight ends, 3 receivers on one side, 2 receivers on the other side. So this is a good passing concept. Like for example, you know, out of trips, like let's say you wanted to run like a Mills concept, deep post, dig, and then you have a whip route right here. Now let's say on this side you wanted to run a whip and then a dig. And so like really it's just like a way for the quarterback to have multiple options in terms of passing. If you're a team that likes to drive the ball downfield or throw the ball a lot, an empty formation is what you're going to be in a good percentage of the time. Maybe not all the time. I would definitely not say 50% of the time, probably definitely less than 50% of the time, but empty formation is something that you need to familiarize yourself with.